Welcome to the Inspiring Good podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Community Foundation of Elkhart County, which serves a vibrant community in northern Indiana known for its generosity and strong network of nonprofit organizations. I'm Marshall King, your co-host with Kevin Deary, a veteran nonprofit CEO who now coaches others. Our guest today is Naomi Leary, Executive Director of The Window in Goshen, Indiana. Naomi worked in a number of nonprofit roles before becoming an executive director. Naomi, welcome to the Inspiring Good podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you.
Naomi, it's so good to have you here. I've gotten to know you over the last 6 or 8 months. You took over as executive director of The Window in October, and it's been quite a first few months for you, but you're off and running, and I hear nothing but good things about you, and so appreciate your leadership and getting to know you personally. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about The Window and the mission?
Absolutely. It has been about 6 months since I started, and it has been like drinking from a fire hose, but it's wonderful to be there. I feel a real sense of community. The Window's mission is pretty simple. It's to feed, clothe, and care for all who are in need in Goshen. And we provide basic needs. There are lots of wonderful nonprofits that we want to collaborate and work with who provide programming or provide resources like Oaklawn, but we focus on giving the best care we can to those basic needs. So we feed people through our Meals on Wheels program. We serve breakfast, lunch, and some to-go sandwiches on site. We do our food pantry, and we also do commodity boxes for seniors. So feeding is a lot of what we do. That's the most broad thing, because we think that's one of the primary basic needs. We also provide clothing in our free clothing closet. Always welcoming men's clothes donations. As you might expect, we get a lot of women's clothes, but far fewer men's clothes. And then the care piece is where we are a little bit more distinctive. So we want to see those unseen needs. So for instance, say you're in transition, you are moving here and you have a home, you put a security deposit down, but you're just not there yet. But you need to get mail that's important that you don't want to miss. You can use us as your mailing address. That permanent mailing address is really important for people in transition, and it's unnoticed by others. We also provide public showers, which, again, maybe your water turned off in your home, or there's lots of reasons why people might use it. It is not an uncommon story for people to come to us, take a shower, go to the clothing closet, get a nice outfit for an interview, and then get the job. That has happened more than once. And so we try to fill those unseen gaps in care and provide those with dignity.
Tell me about commodity boxes.
Yeah. So this is a seniors program. It's like a food pantry box, except you can come and pick it up. And that's through the Food Bank of Northern Indiana. It's their program that we administer for the Goshen community.
You have lots of partnerships, don't you, at The Window?
Yes, we do. The one that has been there since I started is with Oaklawn and their PATH program for people experiencing homelessness. So we have a care worker from them who comes in twice a week and meets regularly with people. We see our role as that connector, that bridge. We don't want to duplicate great work that's happening. So many people are doing great work. Oaklawn does great work. And providing a place for them to come and connect. And then also we can stay in touch with what care they're getting and how we can best help them towards those services. So the Oaklawn's PATH program is the one that is pretty pre-established.
So you mentioned the feeding, but I know Katie's Kitchen is a key part of your program. And isn't Meals on Wheels also somehow orchestrated through The Window? And then there's the breakfast sandwich, leftover sandwich donut thing. Like all of these, like maybe the easiest thing is, can you walk us through a day of the food that is being prepared and or handed over, aside
Absolutely.
from food pantry where somebody would take the food and take it home and prepare it?
Absolutely. So the kitchen is the one that has a standard day. At 8 a.m., the kitchen staff come in and start preparing the meal for the day. At 9 a.m., we welcome clients in for those breakfast items that are often donated, day-old baked goods. We serve oatmeal and other breakfast items like a continental breakfast and coffee. It is also how we function as a warming shelter, right? So when it was desperately cold, we could let people in and give them some warm coffee and a place to gather. So then at the 10 o'clock hour, that's when Meals on Wheels steps in. And so we prep all of the Meals on Wheels, and the kitchen is making the Meals on Wheels meals, and we call them the crowd meals. And so we package up 65 hot meals with the cold as well. And then 7 volunteer drivers come in and take those out. And then we feed the crowd at 11:30. And our kitchen preps for 180 lunches a day. So the grab-and-go sandwiches are, again, donated from like daily food trucks or restaurants that serve lunches. And those are available for pickup at about 2:30 every day.
So how many volunteers and staff do you have?
That's a great question. I'll say this. We have a ton of volunteers. We only operate because the community supports us and because these volunteers support us. Most of them have been volunteering for longer than certainly I've been there, but even some of our directors. And they are a big part of what we do. So we have 40 volunteers average a week. That's not including volunteer groups that come in. We have 5 pantry shifts, and so we need about 5 volunteers for each of those. We have 5 clothing closet shifts, so again, we need volunteers for those. 7 Meals on Wheels drivers a day. Some just volunteer 1 day a week, so that adds up. And then we also have Meals on Wheels dispatchers who prepare the meals. So all of these places, we have volunteers, and yeah, they really shape what we do.
And people make the mission. It's how they greet the guests.
Yes.
It's how they greet the partnerships and the food trucks and
Yes.
all the different organizations and people that go into this to make it possible. Having been in the window several times over the years, always was very impressed with how much gets done with such little space.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I think anybody who's been in the window knows you do so much with so little space.
We are busting at the seams, some might say.
And at some point, I'm sure you and the board are looking at that and say, how do we grow? How do we take care of all these growing needs? I was fascinated by workforce development.
Yeah.
I love that story of somebody will come in, they'll shower, get a new set of clothes, which makes them feel value, and then they go get the job that they were interviewing for.
Yeah.
So many times we think folks who are down on their luck are lazy or they earned it or somehow they've lost their self-worth.
That's right.
And I just love how the window can lift up their spirits. You are a faith-based organization.
Absolutely.
I was kind of hoping you could tell me the journey between interfaith, how it started at churches. Tell me how it all started.
Absolutely. So the window is among other nonprofits in the area, Interfaith Hospitality Network, Church Community Services. A group of people got together and said, we believe that it is our faith-based role to care for those in our community in need. The window actually is interesting. It was a group of local businessmen and church women who got together, which is great. That's part of why I think we've always been downtown based. And what the window has done and how it's cared for people has changed over the years as different needs have developed. There is some lore that other nonprofits started at the window and then went off on their own. We don't have records of that, but I think that when people come together, great things can happen. And for me, that is because of I come together with people to do those because of my faith. And I think that's been true in the history of the window. And how we care for people is definitely shaped by how we saw Jesus care for people with love and with open arms to welcome them into his table.
Do you often have children that come and take advantage of the services and families?
That's a great question. We definitely have parents a lot of the time, but we operate from 9 to 4:30. So during the school year, most of them are in school during our open hours. I'm excited for summer because I think we'll get a lot more people coming in and feeling a sense of community with others, for sure.
I think some of the saddest sights that I've seen in Goshen are families that are eating at gas stations.
Yes.
No disrespect to gas stations, but literally they're eating things that they're purchasing there.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily the healthiest
Absolutely.
And I know at the window you take nutrition very seriously.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about how you design your menu and how all that comes together?
I am happy to talk about that. And we don't do that alone. For instance, the Meals on Wheels provides like training on what nutrition you need to be providing in a meal. And so we make sure that there are dairy products, that there are vegetables, that there is protein, bread products. However the government thinks of a healthy meal, it changes over time, but that's what we base our standards off of. We are lucky we get local products, right? And so that helps us with local produce and locally processed meat. These things really make the food that we serve pretty high quality. It comes on a cafeteria plate, but it doesn't taste like cafeteria food. And I enjoy eating the meal every day. If I'm not on site, they save one for me and put it in the fridge.
Can you tell us a story? Tell me a story from the last couple of weeks, something that's touched you, that has really spoken to the mission of the window.
Yeah. So there's a woman that I'm sorry. The mission of the window is to provide people their basic needs with dignity, right? And to me, the dignity and the care is central to why we provide these basic needs. One thing that I appreciate is as I'm there, I can develop relationships with people that, again, we're not providing them services, but those relationships help point them towards services, help make those services feel more accessible. And so there's a woman, I'll call her Chelsea, that is we talk a lot. Every time she's in, she says hi to me. And if she isn't, then she asks Amelia or if I'm not in, then she asks Amelia to text me hi. And we talk together because I had to sit her down after she got verbally angry with another client and had to talk to her and be like, you can't do that here. Your anger is fine, but you cannot be verbally aggressive towards other people here. And she knew that, right? It's not that she didn't know that. It's that she needed support to work through that and see a different way. And through that meeting where I could talk to her as a person and be like, look, I also get angry sometimes, but at the window, safety is the most important thing, right? We want to work together. She came to me the other day and she said, Naomi, I was on the phone with Comcast or some business that she didn't really enjoy talking with. And she said, I thought of you. And I said, getting angry isn't going to do anything. I'm going to take a breath and and she said she had a great result, that she actually got help. And that was so meaningful to me because these basic needs helped her feel like she could be in a place to feel secure. And then this connection allowed her to say, hey, I know this person who believes in me and believes I can be better, and did that. So
one of the gifts I think you bring is you see the individual person in front of you.
Yeah.
And you can talk to them in a way that with dignity and respect, but also draws a very strong line of expectations of behavior.
Yes, that's for sure.
You're a little bit like the mother of the window.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a positive way. You provide all this love and direction, but you also are real clear on the expectations of behavior and respect to your staff and volunteers. And I just love the fact that thank you for sharing that story, because that brings it full circle to why we do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the exact right way to speak it. We want to come with love, but love is not love without expectations. We all need to keep each other safe. We all need to treat each other kindly, and it's not kind to others to not have expectations.
Naomi, you played some other roles with nonprofits before you took this job. I imagine that you can talk about some of the other roles if you wish, but compared to that, I think you've probably gotten in here, rolled up your sleeves, or having conversations with people like Chelsea and doing things that you probably didn't entirely know were part of the job necessarily. But I'm really curious what you've learned about homelessness and particularly about food insecurity. I've been a food writer for 25 years, as is in my other parts of my life. I value food. I go out of my way for food. I spend money on food. I don't understand how in this country, where there is abundance, there is also a massive number of people who don't know where their next meal is coming from and need places like the window to help them feed their kids or help them, even if they're working.
Yeah.
They still need you, but I don't understand all that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what maybe you knew or thought you knew before you took this role, and now 6 months in or so, what you know now about homelessness and food insecurity.
Absolutely. I've learned they're complex. And I've learned that my framework for thinking about it is that there are individual problems and then system-wide failures, right? So individual problems are, look, I am housed and I have money for all my bills, except that my car broke down. So where is this going to come from? It probably comes from a food box that's going to help you with your grocery bill for a couple of weeks. A lot of the people that we serve are housed or somewhat stable. We don't get the majority of the people that we see are not regular every single month. We do see those, but it's usually people who life happens to us all. And if you're just at that edge, you're doing everything right, but you just can't quite get there. That's honestly where a lot of food, and that's why it's called food insecurity, right? Because you're just not quite sure where next week's food is going to come from. And that's one thing that I've learned is that there's this whole population of individuals who life just happens to, and we step in different ways and can be there for that to help them step back out of that. And then there's system-wide failures, right? There are gaps between when you are hungry and when you can get the services you need from the government or from others. You start working and you don't get paid for 2 weeks. There's just these gaps. And also, I think, honestly, the thing that has surprised me the most is we very generously and wonderfully get local retail donations at the end of the day, right? So Kroger and Aldi's, they give us what they can't sell, which is wonderful. But there's a lot of excess. There's a lot of excess. And so there's something broken there, right? When there's just this system that is creating more food than people will buy, and then the others get the leftovers. I don't know. Anyway, system-wide failures.
The figure is 40% of all food produced in this country is thrown away.
Exactly.
One way or another.
Exactly.
It goes to waste.
Yes.
Some of it in my refrigerator.
Yeah.
We all do that, right?
Yeah.
But systemically, you're right.
Yeah.
And the amount of food waste is stunning. And so folks who are able to create a great lunch out of something that may have just been at its expiration date, which I know the folks in your kitchen are masters at.
Oh, man, that's what they love doing.
Is a gift to the community and those in need. But yeah, it's a huge issue.
And the window is uniquely able to work at food waste because most food pantries, you come in and you leave. But because we are both a food pantry and have on-site services, we have these shelves that we call at risk. So maybe they're over, like the best by date is passed, or maybe it's leftovers from lunch or things like that. We can put those there on at risk and people can take them. We can't hand them out as food in our food pantry, but people can take them if they want to take that risk. Of course, we don't put food there that we would not ourselves eat. That's our standard. But it allows people to choose what is good for them.
You've been an executive director now for 6 months.
That's right.
Learning curve has been steep, as
Ooh,
it
yeah.
is for everybody.
That's right.
Tell me about your learning curve and tell me what's not in the job description that maybe forgot to be told, your story about Chelsea.
Yeah.
But tell me about the learning curve.
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is it's intimidating to come in and to an established group, an established nonprofit, and be their leader, right? I have never been more welcomed than I was at the window, not because of me, but because that's what the community does. The community there is shaped by trying to be welcoming and welcoming people in transition and also welcoming staff and different things. So that really set me in a good place and has helped the learning curve feel a little bit nicer. I have learned a lot about regulations. I think if I had known how many regulations we were under, I still would have taken it. It's still a great job. So just as an overview, for Meals on Wheels, we have the area of aging contract, plus we have Medicaid waiver. For the kitchen, we have health inspections and we have nutrition requirements, right? And for the food pantry, we have food bank requirements, all of these things. They're wonderful. We absolutely need them. They keep people safe. I'm not saying we shouldn't have them, but it's the unseen labor of nonprofits, right? That's the difference between a nonprofit and you lending food to your neighbor, which both are great. But when you do it at a volume, you got to keep people protected. You got to do it to a higher standard.
And it's those unseen administrative costs,
Yes.
which is why fundraising is so important.
That's exactly right.
Because people all want to buy food.
Yes.
And they want to make programs happen.
Yes.
But if without those regulatory work being done,
Yes.
and budgets being written and
Yes.
reports being filed to the government, that is a huge value, because as soon as you don't do it, they
That's
can
right.
shut down that program.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And it's a valuable part, an important part of the entire mission, is that if you want a high quality nonprofit, you have to live inside the regulations and the policies and the procedures. And
Yeah, that's exactly right.
because not only do you have the government oversight, but you also have your own oversight.
That's exactly right. We
Yeah.
want to provide good food that is good to eat.
And employee handbooks and
Yeah,
operations
yes,
manuals.
yes,
and
yes.
It just never stops for an executive director.
No,
There's
no.
always something to do on your things to do list.
That is for sure. Just in the food pantry and the kitchen, I think we have 7 to 8 industrial fridges and freezers, right? Maintenance costs associated with those.
I can honestly say, after a 30-year career as a executive director of a nonprofit, there wasn't a day I didn't learn.
Yeah,
Not
that's
one
for
day.
sure. That's
There
for
was
sure.
Something I didn't know.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
learned that there were a lot of people way smarter than I was.
Yes,
and
I believe
yet we still had to get all the work done. We still had to live the mission. And so I appreciate your observation on that, because that's not in the job description, or it's a small one. It's a small
right.
one-liner. What is something that caught your attention now that you've been in this position that was a good surprise?
Yeah. The window is close to a lot of different businesses. We are downtown Goshen, and we are pretty visible, right? We're a small space, so we don't love when people taking our services have to line up outside. That is not our goal. We don't think that's providing service with dignity, but we're small. Like, it's a literal small space. And so I have been wonderfully surprised is the wrong word, but I think it's been a real blessing to have people in downtown reach out and say, how can we work on this? How can we work together on this? Because often the things that they see as problems, I also see as problems. Maybe we aren't seeing them from the same viewpoint, and that's okay. But I also don't think that people should be lining up outside for food. I don't think that's doing it with dignity. And I have been from the police and fire departments to the mayor to other businesses downtown, I appreciate it when people come to me and say, look, let's sit down and talk about this. For instance, there's a restaurant coming in right next door to us, and they're starting. And so I sat down with the owners and we said, here are some things that we can do. Here's how we can work together. I'm going to do some trainings with their staff. Their staff is going to come over and meet our staff so that they know who to talk to. And we want to be good neighbors. Partially because we like Goshen, right? We're community members too. And also because we think that it's important for the people that we serve to be part of the community. And so we want to do that in a way that is community building.
One of the things I say regularly is that what depends on where you stand.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you're saying some of these things that other people see as problems, I also see as problems. Even though you're sitting
Right.
inside the window and
Right.
they're driving by on Main Street.
Yes.
And the person standing in line also probably really doesn't want to be in line.
That's exactly right.
And so I love the way that you framed that. But you named some of these partners and partnership and community building that's happening. What are some of the key partnerships, or what are some of the partnerships you hope to extend or forge or strengthen as you do this work?
Absolutely. So I just have to name that there's already good coalition building resources that I and the Window have tapped into for years. For instance, the Elkhart County Homeless Coalition, right? And so in Goshen, we talk with First Light Mission just about how to work together. And there's a phrase that Mindy uses to great effect. It's called continuum of care. right? So maybe you're not quite ready for all of the programs that she offers. So how can we do that work to help get you there where you're ready to take those steps?
And for our listeners, Mindy Moorhead is
Thank
the
you.
executive director of First Light.
That's right.
Which is also in Goshen and a partner with yours as well.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I just talked like everybody knew everything. So First Light Mission is a homeless shelter in Goshen. And so we have people experiencing homelessness. And so there's this continuum of care, right? Trying to provide access at different points along the continuum. The partnerships specifically that we've started and I want to build on is with Center for Healing and Hope. They're immigration resources. They come in a couple of times a month during food pantry hours to connect with people being served. And then we are talking with different peer recovery coaches from addiction to come in and have some office hours. Again, similar to the Oakland Path program so that we can connect you to their great programs and their great services. We're open to other collaborations like that. I want to try to build this into what we do.
So homelessness, despair, lack of hope, which is despair. There's so many things that you lift people back up again. If there were ways that our listeners could help, how could they help?
That's a great question. To be really honest, in these times, financial donations to the bottom line help us do these things that are unseen. We love volunteers. We'll always take more volunteers, but we also hope to. So, for instance, we're in a really small building. We just are, right? If we're going to think about how to expand, we need to know that we have support from the community to do that. And that's financial, right? And that doesn't mean that we want to take as much money as we can. It just means I want to know what the community is ready to support, and financial contributions help us see that picture better and help us connect with those people.
So basically, time, talent, and treasure.
Time, talent, and treasure. You got it. That's right.
Naomi, you told one story already. I'm curious, this is really going back. What is something from years of working in nonprofits that prepared you for this role?
That's a great question. So I started my career in Christian camping. I was the program director at Camp Friedenswald from about 2014 to 2020. And I wasn't going to do a career in camping. I wasn't thinking, okay, I'm going to go from camp to camp, which some people do. And great. I grew up at Camp Friedenswald. I wanted to work there. I was a little curious about how I would use these things that I was learning. Camping is a very unique environment. But it turns out when you manage a bunch of kids, you get crises that happen, right? So your crisis management toolbox expands. The camping is highly regulated, so my regulation toolbox got expanded. And we ran adult retreats, trying to tell adults what to do. I'm not sure there's better management training out there, trying to get adults to be on time to meals when they want to relax. And I also worked with college-age individuals, most of them in their first time. And so that's management fundamentals, right? You're teaching them what an employee is. So you need to be really clear about what an employer role is and how to work together. And it also just taught me that work is fun, right? One of my favorite things about camping was that at the end of the day, if everybody had fun and went home safe, you did a great job. Yeah.
Isn't it funny that all of those experiences you just shared, you do every day as an executive director?
Man. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Except you're the final say.
That's exactly right.
You have to have the answers.
That's exactly
or
right.
be able to go get the answers.
Yes, yes.
So I think all that has prepared you for this job and that you have embraced it so well. I know the board respects you and loves the job you've done. You've not had a lot of time to work with the board.
Right.
You're still learning that.
Yes,
it
takes
a lot. It takes time. And I know you're very grateful for the board. They've done a super job.
Yes.
But as you look for future board members, what are you looking for?
Oh, that's a great question. So, like we're saying, we do a lot of different kinds of basic needs, right? And so volunteer work on the day-to-day is mostly basic tasks, right? I've volunteered before. That's what you sign on for, and you know that. But the board is a volunteer role where you can use your excellent that you can use your trained skills. So for instance, if we had a lawyer on the board who could just point me in the right direction when I get notices from the court about things. Again, these are not big deals. They're just things that I've never seen before. And so like those kinds of expertise, right? Like financial expertise, law expertise, nonprofit expertise, or just like management expertise, right? These are all things that you can bring to the board. Of course, essential is passion for the mission, right? And central to that. But a lot of different people in a lot of different places in the community have that. And the board is a place for you to really take your experience and bring it to bear.
Which is a great example of people's talent they can bring. Time is really important. If you're going to be a board member, please make it to the board meetings. Come to the special events. Also, please give. Everyone has a different level of giving. But
absolutely.
Wherever you are in your life financially, give what you can. I think that goes right along with time, talent, and treasure.
Yeah.
But for you, things like counselors, educators.
Absolutely, yes.
Social workers.
Yes.
Bankers, we have a lot of manufacturing people here.
Wonderful.
You are in the business of renovation and repair of humankind.
Yeah.
And some things, that damage that was done was not of their own. Sometimes it was. But you're in the business of renovation and repair.
Yeah.
And grace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your team practices that every day. If you're a board member and you want to be part of that, then giving your time, talent, and treasure to something that helps people get back on the regular road, which is where many of them want to be.
Absolutely.
They don't want to be where they're at. They want to get better. And
That's right.
So thank you for doing this work.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think that one of the best parts of being a board member is you get to see what does go on behind, right? So maybe you have a passion for it, but it's just a nonprofit you just haven't really been able to give time to for whatever reason. A board member coming to those meetings, it provides such a needed foundation for the nonprofit, right? It's this place that you're both where it starts and where it ends. And so providing that for a nonprofit leader, that has been my most appreciated experience with the board, is that they provide this place to be grounded and also to plan for the future.
Naomi, Kevin named it, but the spirit with which you do your work is a lot of fun to watch. I mean, laughter comes easily for you, and you just bring this graciousness that from the moment I met you was apparent. And I'm delighted, too, that you're doing this work.
Thank you.
In this place that I love.
One of the things that I really value is these community connections, right? And I don't want the window to be some black box that you see, but you never go into. On April 30th, we're hosting an open house. We want church. If your church supports the window, come by. If you're a downtown business and you want to talk to me or you want to talk to the board, come by. We are doing an open house so that people can come in an evening, an afternoon, and experience what we have. We're going to have some Katie's Kitchen made appetizers for you to enjoy. We're hoping to have collaborators there as well, so you can hear about the different services we connect people to. But we want that to be a time for the community to come in and learn about the window and then see how we can all do the work we're doing together.
Great. Thanks for being with us today. Our closing question is always, what gives you hope?
Absolutely. The people around me give me hope, both the people we serve and the people who do the serving. Change sometimes is a long process, right? And it's not always linear. So it's not that I see positive change in every person every day, but over time, I do. Over time, I see people who work hard at being better than they were the day before, who work hard at trying to take new steps in their own growth. And that is just why I'm there. It's why we try to help people be in a place where they can do that.
This show is a production of the Community Foundation of Elkhart County. It is powered by equipment from Sweetwater and recorded at the Community Foundation's offices in Elkhart's River District. Editing is done by the award-winning communication students at Goshen College, home of one of the best college radio stations in the nation. Listen to Globe Radio at 91.1 FM. Music is provided by Sensational Sounds. Learn more about the Community Foundation of Elkhart County at inspiringgood.org. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thanks for listening. We hope you're inspired and inspire good in your community.